Hello everyone and welcome to the Scots Scheme with Macalester football coach Tony Jennison. The Scots Scheme is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Macalester football coach questions about the football program, sports, or just life in general. Coach Jennison is a faculty member at Macalester College, so you can be sure there's a lot of wisdom there, so we look forward to the questions you have for us each week. This week we introduced the program to you. The coach shares some of the insights he's expecting for the upcoming season, and we talk about just some general things that are happening with the Scots and expectations that he has based upon last season's final results. So let's get right to the Scots Scheme. So let's welcome Coach Jennison here for our first week on the Scots Scheme. So Coach, first of all, we want to begin by talking about the question that everybody's been wanting to know this summer. So who will be the Macalester Scots quarterback this year?
That's a great question, Rob. Right now, we have 5 quarterbacks that have all done a really good job. We've got 2 upperclassmen that know our schemes pretty well and have worked hard this offseason to prove that they should be the next guy. And then we've got 3 freshmen that have come here, all with different skill sets. They all do different things well that are really opening our eyes to things. So, to be honest with you, I don't know that there is a definitive answer at this point. I think we know who our number 1 quarterback is at this point, but I wouldn't be surprised if we play multiple quarterbacks, just because they have different talents and they allow us to do different things. Last year we had a quarterback that had a very strong arm and was extremely athletic. And all the quarterbacks that we have this year, all 5 of them have different skill sets. They all do different things better than the others, or maybe not as strong as the others. When I think it comes to arm strength, I think of certain guys. When it comes to athleticism, I think of others. When it comes to knowing our offense, I think of different people. So they all do different things well. That I wouldn't be surprised if you see different quarterbacks from us until we kind of figure out if there's one guy that is really should be leading the team, or if the quarterback by committee approach is going to be the best thing for our team. So I think time will tell in terms of who's going to be the starting quarterback for our team.
You obviously are going to have a big difference on defense this year. You lost 3 seniors that were huge, not only huge defenders for you, but had big leadership roles on the team. Connor Fleming, Ryan Flanagan, Reed Callahan, among others. Joel Miller as well.
Jacob Luke,
another one. How do you wind up replacing that?
Another. I don't know that you replace them. We certainly are. Bolton House is another one. We're certainly going to miss their leadership in a lot of ways, and their toughness, their work ethic, and just how they led our football program over 4 years. So I don't know that you replace them. You just hope that some of the young guys that return to our team, and maybe some incoming freshmen, hopefully they've learned from those guys in the past how we do things here in terms of the attention to detail, in terms of work ethic, attitude, how hard we practice, that type of thing, how hard we work in the off season, that those people are ready to step up to carry that torch. So there's no question those individuals will be hard to replace, and I don't know that you can replace them, but we certainly feel that we have some talent coming up that will be ready to fill in some holes that they left.
Do you ask of people that are seniors now or juniors to say, hey, look, we're going to need you to kind of step up in this position this year?
No. And maybe we should. I don't know if that's good coaching or not, but no, we ask all the young men in our program to try to improve daily, to do everything they can at every opportunity to get better, and hopefully they can fill a role for us in some capacity. Joel Miller was on the field almost every play last year defensively, and maybe we have people coming up that are going to fill that role, but maybe it's 2 people that fill that role, because one's really good in the run game, the other's really good in the pass game. So we want people to put their skills forward with what they can do, and we certainly don't want to put them in situations where they're not comfortable.
Now, in the a conference poll they had this season, you were ranked to finish third in the Midwest Conference North Division, I believe it is, if that's correct.
Correct.
How did you feel about that assessment of your team?
I thought it was fair. We've only been in the conference for 1 year, and really haven't. Other than last season, there's not a long history there of proving how we're going to compete year in and year out against these teams. So I think when you look at it, the two teams that were picked ahead of us have larger rosters than we do. They've got a lot of talent returning. Obviously, we graduated a very strong senior class that made significant contributions last year. So I think it's a very legitimate ranking, and I have I'm not upset at all with the rankings. In fact, quite honestly, I don't really look at that sort of thing. It doesn't really mean anything to me. We're worried about Saturdays and what happens on Saturdays, not what our rankings are.
After last season's success, set a school record for victories and first NCAA playoff berth, the expectations obviously have to be higher for your team this year just based upon what the success of last year's team was. This offseason, has that helped you or hurt you, do you think, or done both in some ways?
That's a good question. I definitely feel as though the young men in our program have been extremely committed in the offseason. And so maybe that's a way that last year's success has helped our football program. I think it may have given the returners in our program a taste of what a strong football team can do and how that feels, and the fun that goes along with that. And I think that the returners in our team have worked extremely hard to hopefully not have a letdown, to come back and be prepared for another strong season. I also think that it in some ways has probably helped us in recruiting. I think it helps us tell a story. And I think that the young men who are looking for a really high level of education, but also a meaningful and rewarding football experience to go with it, can now look at Macalester and say, hey, this is one of the top options in the country right now in terms of high-end academics and great football. So I think it's helped us in a lot of ways. The one way it's probably hurt us is we've had a lot of visits. Recruiting's been very busy, so it's probably been wearing down our coaches a little bit, but that's a good problem to have.
Do you find that maybe and I don't know, I'm just asking, in previous years, would there have been kind of an attitude that players, if football season ended, it was kind of like, okay, football's done, but because of the success, football kind of stays more in the forefront of their minds for the rest of the school year?
I wouldn't say so. I think the young men in our program, for the most part, have always been committed to the off-season conditioning programs, and football's, always been a part of their mindsets, even out of season. I do feel as though this off-season was probably our best ever in terms of off-season commitment. And I think, again, it might have been part of the success of last season that helps, but I don't think it's been really that different as opposed to other years. I think the types of young men that we recruit to Macalester are passionate about football. So football is something that doesn't go away for 6 or 8 months out of the year. It's still very present in their minds.
You've mentioned the off season. So what was the off season like for you this year after such a successful season?
It was busy. It's always busy, and it seems to be getting busier for whatever reason. But again, it's all good. The fact that we're more popular as a football program now is great. We're talking to better football players. We've already gotten a couple of commitments from young men already before their senior year even started. So the recruiting process is going very well, and it makes for a busy off season.
Was there more personal time taken away from you, like people want you to appear more often or speak places or things like that?
You're the only person I think that wants me to appear anywhere, so no, I don't think so. No. There's no one other than you, I think, Rob, that really is asking for my time now. So
we're getting you on the lecture circuit soon. You watch.
Yeah.
Who were some of the key freshmen this season that you were expecting big things out of?
Well, one, Jeremy Steffen is doing a really nice job at the running back position. He's from the the Marshall School in Duluth, Minnesota, and he's done a really good job so far in camp. Now we have had some injuries in our backfield, so Hopefully some of those guys will get healthy as well. But Jeremy's done a really good job. Aaron Dimmler on our defensive line. We had 3 seniors graduate last year, so we were very hopeful that we'd have some young defensive linemen step up and prove that they've got the skills and the tenacity to give us some snaps on the D-line, and Aaron has done a really good job. He's out of Roseville, Minnesota. And then our young quarterbacks have done a really good job. Alec Beatty from Topeka, Kansas, Andrew Smith from St. Catherine's High School in Racine, Wisconsin, and then Cody Petrich from Lansing, Illinois, have all done a really good job, and I think that the future of our quarterback position is pretty bright with those young guys there. So we'll see. My guess is that we'll see other freshmen that continue to develop and start playing larger roles. But for right now, those are the ones that kind of stand out.
Last year, at the end of the year, you were really kind of leaning on Zandy Stoll to carry quite a burden of your offense, and he came through. I mean, he played really tough for you. How do you keep him healthy and ready to play each week so that you're not kind of maybe putting a little too much stress onto him?
That's a really good question because he is such a dynamic football player. He really helps us, and we need to be smart with how we use him. He actually is a little banged up right now. He came into the season not really at full strength, having battled through some muscle pulls and whatnot over the course of the summer during his workouts. So it's something that we're going to be very sensitive to because we do need him for 10 football games. Last year we needed him for 11, so hopefully it's more. But it is something that we need to be sensitive to. I'm not sure of the correct answer with that. I do think that it's a deep position group. We've got some guys with some experience back there that can help take some snaps away from Zandy and keep him fresh. So it's definitely something that we're paying attention to, and hopefully we can keep him healthy because we will need him.
This group of receivers that you have this year is just an outstanding group. Size, good speed to them. Are we expecting maybe a little bit more dynamic offense in the passing game this year, do you think?
Well, I hope so. Whether that happens or not it remains to be seen. But we do feel we have some talented receivers. We've got 3 seniors in that group with Victor Bordeaux, who's having a great camp, Hunter Johnson, who was our top receiver in our first game last year and then had a season-ending injury, and he's back. And Bradley Cox being in his 4th year with us as well. But we've got some young guys, too, that are doing some really good things. Garrett Eichhorn has had a really good camp, in addition to Trey Nowoshinsky and Sam Bordeaux also. And then a couple freshmen that have been doing a good job as well. So Blaine Coonsey, who's our defensive backs coach, he's been around here for a number of years. He's been with us for 5 years, and he played here in the mid-'80s and then coached here a couple different stints over the last 20 years or whatnot, and he feels as though it's our best wide receiver core that Macalester's ever had. So coming from him, I think that says something. But so we're excited about them. I still think that in terms of our who we are offensively, we still we're not going to be a team that just chucks it 90 times a game, throws it all over the field. We want to have balance on offense. So I think you'll still see us running the football, and you'll still see us passing it. To be successful, we like to have that balance. So I don't expect that there's going to be major changes in who we are or our identity for that matter.
I noticed at the practices that you've had so far already that Trey and Sam Bordeaux look like they've really kind of added probably 10 or 15 pounds of muscle to themselves. How do you think that might assist in the running game or assist kind of in the offense in general?
Well, certainly guys bulking up in the offseason will help them in terms of blocking defensive backs and linebackers and whatnot. So we certainly hope that helps in the run game. It still takes a lot of toughness and tenacity to want to get in there and battle with those safeties and linebackers. So I'm hopeful that this crew will do that. So it definitely can help them from a blocking standpoint, but also I think can help them from an injury prevention standpoint as well. So yeah, we're expecting big things out of those slot receivers, Trey and Sam, and we've got some others that are doing a really good job too at that position.
You faced Carlton this weekend. Last season you went on a last-second field goal against them here at Macalester College, so you head down to there. What do you do to prepare for a team like this?
I wish I could tell you. We're just trying to get we're just trying to get better every day. We're trying to run as many plays as we can without wearing our players out. We're trying to try to get our schemes in. And the hard part with Carlton, they're very well coached for one. But I think it's the third year in a row that they've had a new offensive coordinator, so we're not really sure what to expect. So you kind of have to prepare a little bit for everything and kind of cover all the bases, because we don't really know what's going to happen. The good part about our offense is we feel as though they give us a lot of different looks where it helps us prepare, because we see a lot of different formations and a lot of personnel groupings and a lot of different plays. So I wish I had the answer for how you prepare for Carlton, but the reality is that we beat them once in the last 10 years since I've been here, or 9 years since I've been here. So I'm probably the wrong guy to ask about how you prepare for Carlton.
It's interesting because you were talking to me about that it's hard to know what your team is like in this first game of the season because you haven't really got to see. So describe what that means for you as a coach to try to figure out what kind of team you have heading into game one.
Again, I wish I had a good answer for you there. I think as coaches, you think you know who you are, but after the second game, you always learn more than what you knew. And last year, actually, our game against Hamlin was pretty telling. They did some things to us that really made our weaknesses evident, and we made some adjustments after that. We did some different things. We moved some people to different positions, and we used different personnel groupings a little bit more or less depending on our success there. So these first couple of games, you really get it. I think historically for us, we've really learned a lot about who we are in these first couple of games, and I think that last year, that was critical in our success as the season went on, is because we figured out early, I think part of what we were good at, but also what we weren't so good at, and try to focus on the positives and what you do well. So we're still trying to figure that out right now, but this Saturday will be a good test for us, no question.
You added 2 new assistant coaches this year. Could you tell us a little bit about them and what roles they're going to be filling for?
Actually, 3 new.
Three, okay.
3 new coaches. One, Phil Archer, is our outside linebackers coach. He's amazing. He's an outstanding coach, but a better man, great teacher, educator. He's really brought a lot of pride to our outside linebacker position group. Phil played for the Gophers and then played professionally with the Bengals and I believe the Chargers for some time as a linebacker. So he's been an outstanding addition to the defensive side of the ball, and just a great human being to have around. Philip Jameson is coaching our hybrids, our tight ends and fullbacks. Philip is a former player of ours who went off and coached in the high school ranks last year, but towards the end of the season, he just wanted to sit in and listen to football talk in our meetings and whatnot. So we said, yeah, come on by. And all of a sudden, next thing we know, he's doing work for us, entering data into the system and statistical data and whatnot. And after the season, Mark Davies, our offensive coordinator, came to me and said it would be really great if we had Philip on full time because he could really help our program. And so we approached him about coaching our tight ends and fullbacks, and he was very ecstatic about the opportunity to come back, having been a player here in the past. And then the other new coach we have is John Ostertag, who's working with our kickers and punters. And John has done a lot of work in the upper Midwest, coaching kicking and coaching punting at different camps and whatnot. And he's really helped us, because bottom line is he knows a lot more about kicking and punting than I do. And so having a guy with his type of experience has been really good for our young kickers and punters. So he's been an outstanding addition as well. So those 3 guys have been great and added on to a staff that's had great continuity. We've got a lot of our part-time coaches have been with us for 4, 5, 6 years now. So it's great when people come in and they jump right in and are adding something to your staff.
Now, in this offseason, there was a lot of talk about success obviously breeds desire from other programs, and there was some talk that maybe somebody would try to lure you away from this program.
Yeah.
Can we assume that since you bought a house in this area that talk is coming to an end for a while at least?
Well, with my son entering middle school this year, we really wanted to be solidified in the home where we're going to be for the significant future. and we'd outgrown our other home. We now have 4 children, and when we moved into our other home, we only had 2. So we really were looking for more space, and really wanted to be closer to work for me as well. So I am not looking for any jobs, if that's what you're asking. I'm not applying for any, and I don't anticipate looking for any.
Well, that doesn't mean that anybody else won't be coming back looking for you, as I'm sure. My last question for you I'd like to ask is, the players told me a lot last year about the great sayings that came from Coach Jennison for each year, and to kind of get them fired up. So do we have a great 2015 Coach Jennison saying to kind of get started for this year?
Well, great is the key word there, so I would say no to that. But our little theme of the year that we've been talking about is great by choice. Choosing greatness. That this life is yours to shape, however you want to shape it. And if you don't want to work very hard and you're not going to challenge yourself, well, you're probably not going to have very good things in life. But if you want something, well, then go get it and work really hard to get that. So the whole idea that greatness is a choice, that destiny is a choice, that it's our lives to shape has really been kind of our thought this year. So that's what we've been going with, choosing greatness and being great by choice.
Well, thank you, Coach, for joining us this week, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate your time.
So that wasn't too terrible, was it? We want to thank Coach Jennison for joining us on the Scots Scheme this week. If you'd like to ask your own questions to the Macalester football coach, please send them to us at Tony Jennison at minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's Tony Jennison at minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Tuesday at noon so we can give the Macalester coach a couple of days to review those questions before we record our show on Wednesday afternoon. I want to thank you for joining us this week. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we look forward to seeing you next week on the Scots Scheme.